It's a news day, apparently. Good afternoon, folks. Ted from Immersion here, and our good friend Ray Winiger, head of Dungeons & Dragons, has clarified all of the issues that you, myself, and many others have had about what's up with classic campaign settings in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Many of us misconstrued it and thought it meant 3 were coming this year. It meant 3 were in development. He's clarified. Let's go take a look right now. So, setting update. As I've mentioned on a couple of occasions, there are 2 more products that revive classic settings in production right now. The manuscript for the first, overseen by Chris Perkins, is nearly complete. Work on the second, led by, Wes Schneider, with an assistant from Ari Levitch, is just ramping up in earnest. Both are targeting 2022, and formats you've never seen before. We'll come back to that. In addition to these 2 titles, we have 2 brand new D&D settings in early development, as well as a return to a setting we've already covered. No, these are not MTG worlds. As I mentioned in the dev blog, we develop more material than we publish, so it's possible 1 or more of those last 3 won't reach production, but as of right now, they're all looking great. So, 1, good news, folks. 2 new campaign settings coming out next year. So, that means don't count on Dragonlance this year, I'm assuming, based on that. Don't count on anything else, whatever you think the other one might be, Dark Sun, Birthright, Spelljammer, whatever you think it might be. Doesn't look like we're getting anything else this year. Any classic campaign settings this year, I'm sorry. There is still the secret book that nobody knows what it is, coming out in what seems to be October. So 2 classic campaign settings next year. We are going to, I'm assuming, without a shadow of a doubt, one of those is Dragonlance, and then there's the other one. Then they said they're working on 2, and it's in a format we've never seen before. So I don't think that means it's only going to be digital and you're not going to get a physical book. I imagine that that's still the case, but what I think he means is how it's laid out will be different than we've ever done it before. So as we've seen campaign settings in 5e so far, I'm not including the Sword Coast Adventures Guide because I don't think that really counts because that was an experimental book at best. We'll look at the Magic the Gathering books, right? Or Wildmount, where they include several races, 2 subclasses, and a large amount of lore for the world and a small little section with an adventure. That is what I believe he's referencing when he says they are formats you've never seen before. That's my interpretation. So what I think that means is this might be either a larger book or that kind of breakdown of 2 subclasses and races and a bunch of lore and an adventure is different. I don't know, but let me know what you think. What do you think formats we've never seen before? Could this mean a purely digital release? Could this be a dual digital PDF versus physical release? I don't know. I'm very curious what that means. Then, 2 titles, in addition to those, 2 brand new settings in early development. Okay. That's exciting, right? That's brand new settings. That means, in theory, that is not by saying brand new, that means it is not a classic campaign setting. So it could be a Magic the Gathering crossover, I guess. Or it could be something wholly, completely new we've never heard of before, which is probably, in my mind, the most exciting, because we don't know. And then it says, as well as a return to a setting we've already covered. And then it also says, no, these are not Magic the Gathering worlds, with an S. So based on that, it makes me think the 2 new settings are not MTG worlds. They're not a classic campaign setting. So that could, folks, potentially mean, for the first time in, I guess since the Nentir Vale in 4th edition, a brand new, 2 potentially brand new settings we've never seen before. Now, these could be crossovers. That doesn't necessarily mean they're wholly new in the scheme of everything, right? Technically, Explorer's Guide to Wildmount is a different campaign setting. I wouldn't consider it new because it was created by Matt Mercer and it exists. Same thing with kind of the Penny Arcade stuff. So this could be a collaboration event with some other company or group that has something that they've designed or developed in the past that we're now just getting their version of it. We know it's Hasbro, right? This could be the Transformers campaign setting or the Power Rangers campaign setting. Not saying that that's what it will be, but in theory, that would be a new setting we've never had before. But it's not new in the larger world. And then it says, and a return to a setting we've already covered. I think that means Eberron. That's my guess, is another Eberron book. It could be another, so what settings have we already covered, right? We've covered Forgotten Realms in every book, but pretty much the Sword Coast Adventures Guide. It could be ripe to give the Sword Coast Adventures Guide, just formally just kick it out and give us a true good Forgotten Realms campaign setting, like a really fleshed out one, that also would be an opportunity to go back and revisit any of the subclasses or things that you did in the original Sword Coast Adventures Guide and republish them and update them. I don't know if they would do that, but that's an option. Other campaign settings that we've currently already visited are Eberron and Wildmount. It says they're not MTG worlds, so I assume that means the one we're revisiting is not Ravnica or Theros. So we're really limited in the options, so my guess would be Eberron, but it could pull a surprise move and pull another Critical Role book. Who knows? And yeah, again, the other thing that could be really sad is we're speculating about all of this, and some of these just don't make it to production. And then that, unfortunately, also for Wizards of the Coast would be bad, because all you'd be hearing for the rest of the life cycle of 5e would be something like, well, why didn't you do this? Whatever happened to this? Whatever happened to that thing you talked about but never came out? That is definitely how that would be handled if I've seen the way the internet reacts to these kinds of things. So let me know the following things in the comments down below. What do you think the 2 classic campaign settings are that are coming in 2022? What do you think the 2 brand new campaign settings are about? That is, again, in my mind, truly the most exciting news, because if they're wholly new, that's just wild. This is something we haven't seen in 10 plus years, a brand new campaign setting. And then what do you think is the one that they're going to revisit that's already been covered? Keep an eye here on Nerd Immersion as I do these kinds of things where I cover news and articles and apparently tweets by the head of Wizards of the Coast, who once again is providing ridiculously exceptional, awesome news to us when it could have been handled in a planned week-long news drop. This would have been a great thing to explain then. Also would have been an interesting thing to announce at D&D Live. Instead, we're getting it in a tweet. That's fine. It's better late than never. I'm glad we have it. But, yeah. Thank you all so much for watching. Folks, please do consider subscribing to the channel and turning on your notification bells if you'd like to continue to stay up to date on news as it comes out here on Nerd Immersion. And I will see you all next time.